Oh,
Oh, hey, good morning, John. How are you?
hey. Oh, I'm doing well. I see that your morning is starting off the same as mine with some reading.
Have you seen this new article? It's pretty cool. Have you heard of this guy?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty enthralled by this one right here. Like,
Oh,
ooh, I
that,
haven't. I love it. I've read it 3 times already.
you know, kudos to Mike Power. Great guy. Actually, Supply Professional is a really good magazine. I've read it a few times. Not this particular issue, just in general. I thought.
Well, I mean, okay, let's let the cat out of the bag, though. See, Matt's being coy right now. He hasn't just read it. I think out of the two of us, someone has been on the cover and someone hasn't. So something else I'll eventually speak to Mike about. But anyways, you were on the cover of one of the Supply Professional issues.
I was last year December I believe it was. I was on the cover and it was pretty cool. First time ever doing that kind of thing, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen it, you should check it out. Matt was very dapper in his presentation and stuff like that. But in all fairness,
Actually, 2 years
Mike
ago December.
was
Two,
it two?
it's two this December. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like Michael does a great job with it. The magazine's super great. Like obviously you can read it online and stuff like that. He's always great about helping and sharing some of the physical copies, which is always fun. I've got the other one from when I published last year down on the bookshelf. But in all fairness, I love it. I'm going to share. Look at this unplanned. I'm going to embarrass Matt just a little bit. So in his article, he's talking about some of the challenges with obviously supply chain and resiliency and stuff like that. I actually like this one. I'll say your original quote, but I'll then like square bracket it because I think it could be applied to pretty much anyone. But he's saying that Canada doesn't need more trucks; it needs more coordination between provinces, between regulators, and across the industry. And that's very, very true. I think that across supply chain in general, especially as you can see the mounting sort of like geopolitical tensions, you can see how quickly things can be upended from changes in regulations or programs that were once accessible that are not, or anything like that. And the real world impact it has on every business, but especially disproportionately so on small businesses or smaller businesses than the mega corporations. So I would say you could take Canada, square bracket that, and you could just replace with any country, and you're pretty much good to go with that quote. So I think you should use that one a few times this week. Maybe make a little.
I will use that quote. I will preface it and quote myself as I quoted myself in an article. On that note, we're gonna get some brain coffee into our brain.
Yeah, do it. Let's go.
And as funny as it sounds, this is not prepared. Me and John just on the same brain length as always. Telling yourself you'll do it tomorrow is how dreams die.
Wow. like people like tuning in, casual morning coffee, and this is like smacked across the face. Like, hey guys,
do it.
This is and it's like I know this is gonna sound bad, but there's gonna be at least a number of people out there, like I'll say a handful, I hope it's a handful, that like ended their week by being like, I'll do it Monday.
I'm in the middle of saying that to myself. It's late Sunday. It's early Monday. It's like I want to get it all done, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Mañana.
No. Yeah. Well, but you know what? Look, there really is only so much time, and that's probably one of the funniest things. I don't get into this too much, but like at one point over the last few years, I was reading like a lot. And one of the more interesting books is the War on Art, which if you haven't read it, I mean, obviously the author's speaking a lot about the creative process and stuff like that. But, it really is more about the fact that, whatever your passion, your drive, whatever you're focusing on, he brings up a lot of these arguments about the fact that like, you can't just rely on like this pure base motivation and like, you have to hone your craft and all of these things. But one of his big takeaways is that, you'll never have enough time for everything. Like you can always make a longer list and you'll never have enough time anyway. So, a real superpower is being able to really prioritize and then stick to those things that have real value for you or for whatever community or whatever you're in.
It's funny. Sometimes those are the hardest things because even though what's priority, sometimes they give you the most anxiety as well. It's like, oh man, this is so important. but I got these little hot tasks I gotta do that make me feel good. I'm gonna hit those off first because I don't want to start this big thing because it leads to something bigger, gives me anxiety. I need to do it later, and later turns into weeks, into months.
Yeah, you know what? I think most people are pretty susceptible to that, and I think that that's probably an interesting thing, even when you're thinking about, your operations, your day to day, your flow, like whatever it is like you have a lot of people, whether it's yourself or whether it's people on your team, just doing that. Like they're not feeling 100% right. They don't know how to tackle that project right away. That big initiative is feeling a little too heavy. So what they end up doing very often is working on kind of like like Matt said, those kind of like hot tasks, easier things and stuff. And it's not to say that they don't have to get done, but maybe they shouldn't have been the 1A priority at that particular moment. But a lot of people do that. Guilty of it myself, especially when I'm not sure about how I want to start something bigger. You know what I mean? Like, you just new type of project, new issue, new this, new that, and you're not 100% sure, and you don't want to restart it multiple times. So, or
even fearful of success. That's another one. A lot of people have that. Like, you're so fearful of this succeeding, you self-sabotage yourself, and you just can't start it because you're just like, what if this takes off? Like, what if? And a lot of dreams get killed that way,
No, that's true. So, tomorrow. I mean, like, hey, happy Monday, guys. Like, hopefully, hopefully that's like, not too much of a downer. But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's valuable though for people to think about and stuff. So, I've got something I want to talk about that I've got kind of sitting on the hot seat. But do you have anything you want to jump into, or what do you think?
No. I'll let you take it on, John. I'll let you run with it.
Okay, so have you heard about UPS trying to buy out drivers? Obviously offering a buyout, kind of like, let's call it like early retirement or whatever.
Yeah, not a lot of people are going for it, and they're getting pushed back, and so they're extending the program. I'm not sure.
Oh, look at this guy just stealing my thunder. Yes, that's 100% what's happening. So imagine, like, and this is the funny thing, is because look, let's to be quite honest with you, and I admit I heard this over the last couple of weeks at a family function. Someone in the group just being like, I'm just waiting for my golden handshake. So like, there is legitimately people that towards the end of their career are pretty done, and they know that there could be a benefit or something like that if the company wants to downsize. Of course, they're still doing their job and they're doing it well, but it's like, do I really need to retire just because I can, or retire early? Because some people, have that opportunity before, let's 60, 65 or whatever. So they're saying, well, if they want me to leave right now, they can give me that golden handshake. So here's UPS trying to provide ample golden handshakes to people. They figure, like, who wants to keep running around a truck? So many of our trucks are on air conditioned, like, volumes getting heavier, harder, whatever, like higher, not heavier. Who wants to keep doing this? So like, of course we're going to have all these people that want to do it. And then, to Matt's, point, interest is pretty low there. So now they're extending it as they continue to try to amp out the messaging. So I'll pause there and get your thoughts, but I'll share a few more things for everyone in a couple of minutes that I thought
I'm curious how, maybe weak is not the best word, but how weak the packages are that people are not going for. It has to have a little bit of a
they are weak. That's my next point, but yeah.
I think you froze, John. Oh, there you
I
go.
didn't.
Back.
No, that's your computer. Like,
yeah, it's a weak package. Like, if a buyout is a buyout, like, you got to make sure like it's like enough for you to be like, hey, you know what, I'm willing to do this. But if you calculate it and it's not enough to sustain yourself from buying out early, you got to keep working, especially in this economy. Not to say anything that's as brutally bad.
Well,
the surety of tomorrow is very, like, you got the naysayers of the tariffs and you got the prosayers of the tariffs. You don't know who to believe. You don't know if the economy is good, if the economy is bad. You're just kind of fumbling through. It's uncertainty for next year. I think you stick to your guns and keep working.
For sure. Well, especially after the very lucrative contract they re-signed. So here's an example, and this is why fundamentally they're having a problem, and I think they'll continue to have a problem. It's the buyout is $1,800 per year of service. So that means if someone had like 27 years of service, they're getting like just shy of 50 grand. Like, Exactly, right? So it's like
But is that in the States and Canada? Because I mean, labor laws are different across the board, right? So
yeah, but again, don't forget, like I a lot of those laws and stuff are applicable when someone actually wants to sever or let someone go, not just like you're welcome to keep your job, but hey, if you want to leave and it's like a voluntary situation, like you know what I mean? Like I don't believe the same rules apply.
you still get your full pension if you had a pension because it's UPS.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
assuming.
Yeah. So there's nothing like that. But again, like if you're unless you were right on the cusp, like unless you were about to go anyway, like and you know your date was your date because of whatever your personal reasons are. When you're at like the high side of that rich UPS contract, you're like, well, but I make way more than 50 G's. So like why would I just leave? Like I said, the only people that that type of payout, which is kind of working out to about like 1 week a year, like why would they take it? Like unless you were already going to go. So it actually appeals to your point to a much smaller percentage of the potential base than what I think UPS thought.
I think they miscalculated. I think they're in a position that they need to get rid of those people because they need to become more agile and nimble and refocus like they are on, I believe, on their healthcare, on the healthcare divisions and different divisions, and they're moving away from the big clunky aspects of it. And they need to get rid of those drivers to be able to do that, and they can't do it just by firing them because those severances might be a heck of a lot worse than that 50 grand.
Well, and this is kind of like the problem, right? Like, of course, like these businesses still have the ability to react to like, you know, business impacts and stuff like that. So, you know, their loss of Amazon or whatever for sure would allow them to make some moves. But that's another thing. So the union, like the Teamsters, is basically being like, on top of the fact that this is insulting, is, you know, I'm paraphrasing, guys. On top of the fact that this is insulting, it's like it's actually not allowed, you know, with the agreement that we signed in 2023 because they were actually supposed to create 30,000 new jobs. So kind of an interesting situation going on there with UPS. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was going to catch you off guard, but once again, the logistics ambassadors, top shelf, and just waiting for them.
He's got the CIA, he's got the all FSB, everybody just feeding him information. He knows, he's got the pulse on logistics.
Yeah.
Actually, I did an interesting demo last week. I don't know if you're actually. I'm not going to say the plug or the name yet because maybe I'll send you the details. But it was quite interesting overall tech that I think is emerging because compliance right now in the U.S. and Canada is quite in a tailspin of a lot of thefts are happening, and this technology was interesting in the fact that it tracks trucks based off proprietary sensors put across main and dense areas, and then takes pictures of transport trucks as they're going by and collects that information on public transit. And so then it knows it's when it's coming from specific shippers to go into other specific shippers. And then if you have like a load stolen, it can detect that truck pretty quickly.
That's kind of interesting.
It is very interesting. They have a lot of cool technology for it. But when I was talking to them, they're getting, you know, some people, obviously, when I told other people about it, the pushback was, well, I don't want my information being sold, and I don't want to be known about this. Like, why are they just taking, you know, pictures of my truck on a public road? And then that kind of went in my mind, like on a personal level, I get it. Like, I wouldn't want my personal car being pictures taking care of me, where I'm going, what I'm doing. But on the commercial side, in a business sense, I think this is quite good because if a load is stolen, if there's someone doing nefarious things, as in, you know, a fake transporter picking up my load and it's not the actual person that's supposed to, I'm able to react a lot quicker.
Yeah, well, but I mean, okay, so I hate to break it to anyone out there that thinks that as you're walking, you know, public streets or whatever, or driving, that thinks that they are not being, you know, recorded in 2025. I'm sorry to say that's quite wrong because, I mean, every city, every whatever, like, I mean, whether it's for traffic, whether it's, you know, crime, whatever, like, I mean, these video feeds are going nonstop. And I mean, like, you know, the storage requirements, like, you know, I need, you know, 10 gigs and big deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's no longer prohibitive. I think, you know, the processing it is there, but I mean, on any given day, every city is kind of processing these things just for, you know, like the transit authority. You know what I mean? Like at minimum.
Yeah. But the other thing you just brought up a good point. How much data mining is there of all this information? This is where the complexities of AI really comes into play, where they're able to go through all this data and really make an analysis of what's going on. Because I don't think any one single person would be able to do that. And I think that's where it's going to be some interesting things that we see in the next little bit as massive amounts of data is being analyzed at a higher level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think though. Like, I think a lot of these systems are going to take like the geotab approach. It's like record a ton and keep very little, right? Like geotab became so popular because of the fact that, you know, they developed their entire system and all their algorithms around change. So it's like it doesn't need to necessarily keep all of the data, and it doesn't store all of the data. For example, when a truck is parked for multiple hours, because it registers like, you know, a certain event. And then it's like, well, if no change, it's dropping all of this data. It's not keeping it. And then it detects a change. And that's the next sort of data point that it keeps.
The next breadcrumb, yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of them are going to be like that, right? Like even when I was, you know, in different industries, and, you know, there was a lot of video going on. Not everything for every minute was recorded for, you know, in perpetuity, like, and kept till the end of time, right? Like, you know, you kind of keep things and everything has a certain cycle and stuff, because your regular days are your regular days, right? You just kind of keep rolling.
Yeah, but at the same time, as you mentioned, as data becomes more available to store, because you can, like, I mean, your phones nowadays, like I remember I used to download a movie and didn't have as much storage as your telephone. It's just becoming so insane how much you can pack into a little SD card that you weren't able to do before. So where you wouldn't store this data 5-6 years ago because it was just so much space it took up.
I mean,
now the compression rates, now the ability to put more into a smaller, like, there's no stopping you to record it.
It's not even that. So like, look at, like, I use a bunch of these. So this is one of them because I actually had just moved it, but like multi-terabyte hard drives that I use for like either different client things or whatever. That one's actually set up. This one is when we were goofing around with the self-hosted AI stuff, and I was testing it out. I had everything kind of packaged on there. But like, yeah, like, you know, storage is like super cheap and not, you know, not that hard. So, you know, that's only going to continue, especially too, is, you know, sort of data transmission rates continue. You've got more stuff going to the cloud or whatever. So I think that's cool. What I like about that, and it goes into a take. So I'll share this. I'll kind of tie it back together. I'm going to tell you why I like this one. So it was my post that I made, maybe this morning. I think it was this morning. No, yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. Yesterday's post, I'm talking about infrastructure. It's because I was at an event last week and someone asked me like, "Oh, what do you think about this tech?" And I was kind of like, I think any logistics innovation that essentially is just adding more, i.e. more trucks, more delivery routes, more warehouses, more whatever, to the limited infrastructure of cities, I said is a bad bet. Like, you know what I mean? I think that we need to find more ways to sort of double, triple utilize current assets, that we need to find a way to get more out of current infrastructure. So I said, like, all the money that, in my opinion, like, you know, and I think, you know, we saw one of those river deliveries that got posted last week. You sent it to me too, and I had already seen it, like dropping off that Lululemon package at a customer's house, and this, like, you know, dog like robot shaking itself out, so a package like falls out of its body, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's like, it's cool that we can, but the reality is that, like, more of that stuff isn't actually going to improve anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need 50 robots. I don't need 1,000 robots. Like,
imagine a Walmart robot come into your house, an Amazon robot come into your, a Best Buy robot come, a Home Hardware robot come into your house, Home Depot, all these different, and all of a sudden there's a lineup down your street because, you know, your kid got your iPad and ordered everything.
Yeah, well, imagine you're gonna see the kids of like 20, 50. You know, we'd goof around when we were younger, like, you know, you're playing street hockey and it's like, oh, car, and like robot. People moving. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, delivery. And then you're just gonna see like this, like a group of like 10 kids that are so sad and stuff, just moving their net because it's a nonstop stream of stupidity rolling into the neighborhood. Like,
you know, it's very unrealistic, your story, because in 20, 30 years they'll just have VRs playing road hockey. They won't even be outside. They'll just be like, I'm gonna play some road hockey with my buddies.
Yeah, that's. I wish I could say that I think that that's not likely, but I'm unfortunately not that sold. So my point with that though is that, you know, what you're telling me here about another company using different sensors, different technology, different things, more infrastructure. So, you know, giving more capabilities because they're putting out actually new tools, physically something different, doing something in a different way. You know what I mean? With the sort of existing, also merging into existing networks and infrastructure. So that I always find interesting for sure, because, you know, just jamming more stuff down a pipe that really wasn't meant for it, so to speak. I don't find it very, very effective.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What else did you have? You had said you had something else you wanted to.
Well, the only other thing, so I thought it was interesting. So on the one hand, you got UPS, that's obviously like, you know, trying to downsize in different ways, right? You know, they're reorienting their business, they're trying to maintain profitability, they're focused on profitability. And then the bigger, you know, some big news that splashed sort of like right at the end of the week was that, you know, you saw the creation of Fast Group, which is kind of like an amalgamation of First Mile, ACI Logistics, and Sendle, kind of creating this conglomerate, like this larger group of you know, direct to consumer or just slash logistics capabilities. You know, and everyone's like, oh, what a great merger, look at all these great things. And the reality is, look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the reason why they're doing that is because like density is king, and and people are realizing that like all of this fractured, you know, sort of delivery base and all of this activity that's happening with, you know, every you know, startup company you can find isn't helping anyone, and that's the real motivator behind all of that.
Yeah, it was actually funny enough. One of the people I saw mention this online was the best way. If you go, he said, if you're looking at averages of lanes of just how much you should be paying, you're not really looking at the cost of what it costs to move things. Because those aggregates of the people are taking those third-party information and going, oh, this is the average that everybody's running, doesn't mean that your business is actually going to be able to run within that average. And that average doesn't, it skews beyond and doesn't focus on the efficiencies of specific lanes if you have the density for it. So a guy that can runs, you know, Toronto, New York City every single day and has reloads right out of, you know, down the street and comes right back, his density and his ability to service that lane is far greater than a guy that needs to go down to the Philly market to go pick up and return back with it. And his markup on outbound or inbound, it increases drastically. So those third parties that provide that tech for those aggregated rates for shippers, they don't really provide the actual rates of what it costs.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Sorry.
What?
I thought you were going to say something. So
oh, sorry, I was waiting. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I agree with you though, two ways, because one, like the average is the average, and I mean, I actually think seeing like more of the, like, you know, kind of like the bee swarming of like where the stuff is actually happening. You know, like what's the amount on the low side and what's the amount on the high side. I think would be really interesting, because it's like, no one's really paying 5,000. Like people are paying 10 or they're paying 1, let's say, like hypothetically, like, you know, just to make it kind of a little bit clearer, like easy for people. And then there's different, to your point, there's different reasons for that. And if your business is more in a structure, geography, requirement, whatever, that's in a 10 need, then you're paying 10. Like you'll never really pay 5. And funny enough, when I was in the food industry and we were doing like a lot of tracking of all that, like, it's funny because it's like I would acquiesce and use averages in certain discussions or in certain presentations, and then be absolutely furious about like them not being allowed in others without, you know, properly being like really, you know, buttoned down and like really sub-segmented so that you're getting more like for like activity. Because there's nothing worse than like setting the expectation of like senior leadership of like, ooh, we should pay on average $5,000, because you know what happens? Every $6,000 to $20,000 bill that comes across the desk, it's like, oh, average is 5. What's happening?
It's an average. And that's the whole bit. And those numbers can be skewed by other things, like, oh, we forgot to exclude LTL from that average. Oh no, you mean, you know, the number is drastically lower? Like that's the bit of the problem, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that density aspect of it too, like the amount of airspace that still travels across the country and across the border and into Mexico and back and forth, still boggles my mind. I think more air per kilogram is shipped than most things that people realize, that the amount of empty trailers that are moving around all the time.
But
because there's no density.
you'll never get away from shipping air as long as you deliver on time-based schedules.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? So if you're saying, hey, you know, we run this lane every day, we run this lane every second day, or, you know, we can get it there in X or whatever, you will never get away from it. And that's always what I find funny too. Like I made some comments because like USPS put out their rate increases and stuff like that. And like, I'm just waiting for this slurry of like everyone talking about like, ooh, come with me, no fees, no this, no that. And it's fine. I totally get that. You know, a lot of the, you know, the regional carriers and things like that obviously do have the opportunity to offer cheaper rates, but like eyes wide open, guys, it's cheaper rates because there's less infrastructure there. There's less overall capability. And to be quite honest, like that's what killed Pandion more than anything else. It was making all of these commitments to move everything on these time-based schedules and to have these big buildings to process all of this volume that never hit the threshold it needed to be. But if you want to make the promise, like, you know, if you want to go to that next customer and that next customer and that next customer and be able to say, yeah, we get it there in 2 days. Well, that truck's running then, whether they say yes or not, like, or whether they give you, you know, a great piece of volume or not.
Yeah. And the more I talk to industry wise, I don't want to use the word wise men because that sounds like they're gangsters.
Okay, gangsters. I was gonna say sounds like they're old, but no. Like,
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like all the guys that have been around the industry for a while. You know, when you talk about the golden age of trucking, like the late '80s, early like the '90s and the early 2000s, it was really because they could maximize their trucks based on their pickups and deliveries, and there was no set schedule. So you'd be like, okay, I'm picking up Monday in Toronto. I'll be in Laredo sometime between Thursday and Saturday. And then between Friday and Sunday, I can pick up this load from Laredo as well. And I can be up in Toronto sometime between Wednesday and Thursday. And everybody's all happy. As soon as they started scheduling everything and the shippers and receivers became, hey, we're missing out on opportunity and efficiency. And as soon as they started become very strict on their delivery and pickup times, it made it very inefficient for trucks. That's why, you know, pin to pin bigger trucking companies are very much like, hey, drop trailer pickup, we can maximize me efficient. Same thing with the last mile. Like if you know, back in the day when you got a delivery between Monday and Tuesday to your door, they probably maximize it because they had a pickup around the same time around the same area to make it all work. But now it's like, no, I have to be there next day at 2:00. They're running back with nothing in their truck and they're empty and they're missing out on opportunity. Actually, I would wager that the majority of the Amazon trucks, once they're done the deliveries, they just go back to the depot empty because there's nothing for them to do.
They do. That's their job. Like that's the way that it's scheduled for the most part. Funny enough, though, you mentioned about the drop trailers, because like I remember, I'll date myself a little bit, but like if you go back like 15 years and you talk to someone about, ooh, I got a drop trailer, it was like almost unheard of. It was something. Yeah, it was like something. It was like they give you a trailer. Yeah. And like no word of a lie, I actually remember arguing with Costco about, I'm not giving you a drop trailer. Absolutely not. Like I'm not giving you a trailer or whatever. And these days, it's like the Oprah Winfrey solution. You get a trailer, Everyone's just leaving trailers everywhere. It's wild because you're right.
You want story on the trailer? Go ahead. Store your product on the trailer. We'll leave it at your yard for 3 months. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's funny. And it's like, it's funny too, because one of the biggest things, this is super random just for anyone out there, but it shows the things that you think about. I always got so terrified. One of the things about leaving like the reefer trailers or whatever, because, you know, they're a little bit more expensive and this and that was like the dolly legs, because the problem is, you know, that like sometimes shunters are more thinking about speed in the yard. They're trying to jack this thing up on the wheel too high. And like, all of a sudden it's like the dolly legs go through the floor or something, or they get bent back. And everyone's like, well, how did that happen? It's like, I don't know. I cranked them up. I swear. Like, no, you didn't. Like, no, you didn't. Anyway, it's so random. So if you don't know what dolly legs are, if you're new, whatever, if that problem hasn't come up, just go Google that. I'm sure you'll find some interesting pictures.
But on that note, we're out of time.
We are at time. Look at that. That was just smooth like butter again today. We're just like cooking.
We're supply professionals.
We are supply professionals. It's actually... We're repeat supply professionals, actually. So Anyways, check out the magazine. It's online. Read the articles. You can let me know how much more you like my article than Matt's. But no,
we'll put up a vote. Which article?
Yeah, we'll put up a poll. Everyone can like go in and be like, whose article is better. Mine shows up first. Just I don't know why. Just happened to, if you're rolling through the magazine, you'll find mine first. But Matt's is right after.
It's a seniority thing. The further you get, the better quality.
Oh, that's true. Are you close to the dead center story or whatever?
Yeah. I'm almost at the center. I'm almost at the centerfold.
Oh my god. Oh wow, there you go. Monarch Connect bringing the heat to start the week. But yeah.
Okay, you get no words of wisdom. Those were the words of wisdom.
That was it for sure. Yeah.
On that note, thanks everybody for joining us. Come back next week. We'll have John and myself, same time, same channel, same place, same fun activities. Bye, everybody.